you will be drained in a toxic environment. Drained because it's affecting you psychologically, it's affecting you socially, it's affecting you physically. You're leaving your house, you're going to work, you're already tired because you're planning who to fight, you're planning who to do politics for. Yeah, you don't know who has your back, you don't know if you have a job.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of your favorite show, Gist HQ. Here we bring you exciting gist from across Africa and a lot more. Fasten your seatbelt, guys. It's going to be an amazing ride. Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about workplace toxicity. Is it a training or is it draining? In recent times, we have seen an increase in young people complaining about how much they hate their jobs. They've even gone as far as calling out their bosses on social media for toxic work culture. With such trends on social media, can we say that the category of young people are not ready to work, or they are not ready to be cajoled or bullied into working? To discuss about that with me, I have Mr. Reshayo Kasumo. He is a media entrepreneur. You're welcome. It is so wonderful to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And I also have Mrs. Rosemary Otalo. She is a PR, brand, and marketing professional. It is wonderful to have you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
for my invitation. So, today I'm going to start with you. When can you say a workplace is toxic?
Okay. So I mean, it's best for us to first understand what the word toxic means, and it's used to describe the extent of poison. When you say something is toxic, how toxic? So the toxicity of something is the extent to which that thing is poisonous or not good. So if you're referring to toxicity in the workplace, you're referring to issues, attitudes, um, behaviors that are not normal, that are not good, but not normal. Because sometimes you have environments that are not good, but you can still try. But when it has reached a particular or crossed a particular threshold, then it becomes abnormal. You see that environment is toxic, and most times it is because the culture of the organization, the people, the leaders are enabling this bad behavior. So it's not something that will just happen one off and then no. It is a continuous how would I put it, in that particular environment, such that if you go to the culture of the organization to seek redress or to seek help, you can't find, because even the culture encourages such behaviors. So you're seeing bullying, you're seeing anger, you're seeing um, yelling, you're seeing stressed people, you're seeing infighting, you're seeing aggression and all that. So that is when you can see an environment is toxic. And of course, it reflects also on the productivity of that organization. Because at the end of the day, the people are, an organization is made up of its people. So when you have that kind of environment and that kind of people, then you see that organization is toxic.
Okay, so Mr. Resh, when can you say an environment is toxic, a work environment?
When you're in Lagos.
That's a very wonderful example.
When you're in Lagos.
Yeah.
No, I mean, while she was defining what toxicity is, I was just having the picture of Lagos.
Yeah.
Picture of Lagos in my mind, and it's a culture thing, and when you talk about toxic, like she said, toxic affects every other thing that you do, So when the environment is toxic, then you can be rest assured you are not going to be working at your optimum. So I mean, yeah, I think that for me, that says it for me, really.
Okay, so don't you think that whatever challenges you face in a workplace, whatever toxicity builds you to become a better person, builds up resilience in you, more productivity. Just somehow find a way to be productive in that toxic environment. Is that not a plus for the person? What do you think?
I think for the fact that you've labeled an environment toxic already says it.
Exactly.
It's when you say challenging, there are a lot of words that you can use. You say something is challenging. Challenging means I can still take on that task and still do it, and do it well. When you say something is toxic, like we defined earlier, then it brings this negative intonation to it, right? You cannot thrive in a toxic environment. Even when you try, you are doing it at the detriment of somebody else, and then it's not good ethically, ethically. So it is not training. You will be drained in a toxic environment. Drained because it's affecting you psychologically, it's affecting you socially, it's affecting you physically. You're leaving your house, you're going to work, you're already tired because you're planning who to fight, you're planning who to do politics for. Yeah, you don't know who has your back. You don't know if you have a job. You don't know what your manager will bring today. So it is not a healthy place to be in, both physically, both mentally, emotionally. It is not. So I would say working in a toxic environment is draining. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in an environment where, take note of it. If you're in an environment where you always have to raise your voice, it's not a good environment. Where you always have to, I mean, more like a shouting match, it's not a good, environment for you to be. And it's always good to watch out for it. And I mean, challenging is different from toxicity. You know, I mean, I volunteered when I was growing up. I volunteered, and I could say that most of the things that I know now was as a result of me volunteering, to serve, and all. And it's a very good thing to encourage, especially if you're young, and you want to develop some certain level of skills, it's good to volunteer to be in a place. But then if you're in a place where, it's kind of, it's toxic. Toxic is not a good word, really. Like, it's not a good word. Toxic is different from when you're being challenged, to, maybe take the next step, and do stuff better and all. But if it is now making you to have to think twice and then you want to go, you're already drained, when you wake up, it's like you are scared to, I think that there was this research that was put out, it was amongst people that are working 9 to 5 and all, and they realized that most of them don't like to wake up on Monday. Monday is their most dreadful days that they want to wake up. But if you're always, longing to be in an office, if you're always longing to be at your workplace, that's a sign that they must be doing something right there and all. So yeah, that's just the way.
Okay, so let's take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to fully discuss about this topic. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. We are still talking about workplace toxicity. Is it training or draining? So, Mr. Resh, can reprimanding for not being functional be labeled as toxic?
No, I don't think so. What's the context of the reprimand? Who's reprimanding who? And what's
A
the context of the
supervisor
situation?
reprimanding someone
Yeah,
for
if the
not
person
being
is not doing
functional.
the job, then yeah, they
So
should be
it doesn't matter how the person does it.
Yeah, well, um, there is also the dynamics of understanding what are the rules of engagement in the workplace in the first place. Yeah, so if it is within the rules of engagement, maybe you're working from maybe 9 to 5, and you guys are working within that hour, and then the job description, you're working within that frame and all. Yeah, it's fine, really. But any organization, the bottom line is delivery. If you cannot deliver on the job, if you cannot deliver on your responsibility, then you are not living up to expectations. They also, I mean, that also, I mean, like I said, is dependent on what tools is available for you to work with in the first place to begin with. So if we're looking at maybe like a private sector and the public sector, two different things. Two different scenario entirely. The public sector, they don't have anything to work with, and then I mean they're expected to deliver, But the private sector, I mean, the dynamics are very, very broad, if we're going to look at it. But for me, I mean, you can be reprimanded if you don't do your job. Really. That's.
So what do you think about that, Miss Rosemary? Mrs.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you. The needs to be some context to it. Was the tasks, the responsibility or the roles of the activities, were they clearly defined? Were they measurements to know if you did or did not do it well? What were those sort of goals and objectives that were supposed to be met or not met that would warrant that reprimand from your supervisor? So if those things are very clear, then it shouldn't be, you can't label it as toxic. That it will be far from that. It's just be like you said, the goals and objectives against the delivery of the goals and objectives. You're supposed to do X, Y, Z. You did X, Y. What about the Z? Okay, I didn't know that you said I should do it. Was the brief not clearly communicated? Or was it communicated and you decided not to do it? Or you did it and you didn't do it well? You get a reprimand. You're supposed to deliver this by 12 o'clock. And it's past 12. And there is no explanation as to why you did not deliver. You get a reprimand. So context, goals, objective, clear deliveries. That does not mean that there aren't supervisors who don't have the fear of God in them. Some people are just mean, right? But again, if there are clear expectations, this is the expectations clearly defined that both of you know. It sort of helps when it comes to assessing what you have done, when it comes to getting the reprimand or not. So if you say, do X, Y, Z, and I did X, Y, Z, and you reprimanded me, then it's not about me anymore. It's about that person. It's about that supervisor. Then you can say it's about the environment that has enabled that supervisor. For instance, you can't go and report. Then you cannot start taking it higher and higher. And it goes back to the culture. And you cannot say that environment is toxic. But if it's XYZ you asked me to do, and I did the XYZ, and you gave me a reprimand, like I said earlier, or I didn't do it, rather you gave me a reprimand, then you can't say the environment is toxic. It just means that you didn't deliver. It's as simple as that. So context, goals, objectives, supervisors, a lot of things come to play for you to be able to say, if you get a reprimand, it becomes toxic. It's not straight jacketed, if I can use that.
Okay. So how do you think organizations can make their environment more enabling for employees?
Communication, transparency, involvement, all these are core values for some organizations. When your foundation is strong, is solid, when you have open door policies, for instance, when there is transparency, when there is job security, those basic essential things within a work environment, you are laying ground for a healthy environment, healthy competition, healthy place where people can thrive, healthy human beings, physically, mentally, and socially. And so those are the things I would say leaders must. It's a work of the lead. I personally believe that an organization is a reflection of the CEO. Most times, it's a HR. It is the reflection of the leaders. You have good leaders in place who understand the tenets of good workplace, good work environment, and who are committed. Because another thing for you to have it in your job manual or company guidelines, and it's another thing for them to really execute. You understand? So, who are really committed to ensuring that they have good culture, workplace culture of respect, regardless of ranks, of communication. Communicate. Let there be no secrecy. Let there be no room for talks. Communicate clearly. Don't be shady or shoddy in your communication. I've mentioned respect, communication. What else? Reward. Be able to reward people accordingly. Because that again is one of the reasons why people feel bad in an environment and they start breathing, people start behaving anyhow because they are working, but what they're doing is not commensurate to what they are earning, and it's obvious. You understand? So once all that are in place, you naturally have a healthy environment.
Okay, so Mr. Rush.
Yeah, I mean, she said it all really, and I'm going to look at it from the public sector, you know, and I see a lot of toxicity, all over the public sector, because, like she said, when you have such, I mean, culture, you look at the CEO, what are the leaders doing, I mean, you look at the busing system, in Lagos, for instance, you see it is not coordinated, and there is a tendency for the people that are working, I just want to get my pay, I don't care, I just want to, and all. So, and then, that's, I mean, you see, I mean, this stuff is, like I said, it's broad, when if we really want to break it down, we have to have time to really, really kind of, meet it and all. But then, if I look at it from the public sector, I see a lot of toxicity, in the public sector, really. And it's not something that is good. It's something that should be kind of, I mean, redone, and we have to start from ground zero. And then we encourage, because if um, if those things can work, trust me, we would have a more healthy society, we would have a more healthy, environment. And it's like I say, we are a reflection of the leaders that we have, really, So it's broad, really, but I mean, I don't really know how to explain it in simple terms, really.
All right, thank you very much. So, guys, thank you very much for watching today's episode. Hope you learned a lot. Don't forget to keep a date with me every week on this channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you very much to my amazing guests. It's so wonderful to have you. Until I come your way again next week, bye for now.